for today's episode. Today, we are talking about one of my favorite topics, which is holistic wealth. Yes. Before we dive in, I want to talk a little bit about how I met Blue. It was at one of my very first vendor events. It was before, I think it was before I started modeling. I was doing a vendor event in my front yard. And she was selling her amazing products, and she was also selling waist beads. She made cute little bracelets for my two little babies. And it was cool because we kind of were both elevating. After that, we both elevated in the modeling industry together, but at our own in our own little spaces. I thought that was so cool.
'Cause I kind of forgot how we met. I have a tendency to forget how I meet people in general because a lot of times, like especially those connections that you don't expect to like have a significance or whatever, like those be the connections I don't end up remembering. So it's like really just being able to like be in that feminine energy. I was flowing. I didn't have too many thoughts about, like me vending. I was just like basically my soul was leading, and so that is just amazing to really reflect on that now. Like we really did. I, and that was so inspiring to me because you're a black woman, of course, and you had your own things going on. You were supporting and creating the space. And so basically my soul was very called to just that experience, and I'm not realizing it until now. Like, oh my gosh. Yes.
Get to know you and dive into the different things that you do. And honestly, I wasn't aware until I went to start sharing stuff for the talk show that you have a third Instagram that I wasn't aware of, where you talk more about like the deeper things. And I'm like, I need to go in there and study. That's what I need to do.
Getting consistent because I do have my own blockages with perfection and stuff but I that's exactly what it's for, and I've been longing to get some more posts going on there. So yes.
Need to know. It's stuff that people need to know. And so I'm dying for you to tell the audience more about the many crowns that you wear, because you wear a lot of crowns just like I do.
In a subconscious conversation because I do want to get more organized so that I can feel more confident about posting things and it having a place and people understanding what they're supposed to be receiving. Um, because like my Blue Culture Instagram is comprised of my modeling and my dancing, like, basically my day to day or like my lifestyle. So that's me dancing, doing yoga. I feel like it's my more physical expression. So things I do with my body, I guess. Not like literally, but a lot of the things I do. So modeling, dancing, and then like my holistic wellness. And then I have a page specifically for my self-care and wellness brand, which is where the holistics come into play. Let's Just Products Co. And that's the product aspect of my business, my brand. And then Sacred Esoterica is more of the spiritual aspect. So it's more of the knowledge and creating a collective and information and
Yes.
building on that. So
Yes.
it's definitely a lot of things that I plan to do. So I'm just trying to, and then also like I'm doing events similar to you. So
Yes.
actually just like you, that's something I hear my soul talking to me about. Like when I first seen your Deshay Carter events page, I was like, that's really cool. Like it was in my subconscious, and I definitely acknowledge that
Mhm.
to myself. And so I'm kind of thinking about doing that too because I do
Yes.
events. And I'm like,
Yes. You do a lot of events,
it's
especially
starting to
those.
become a lot.
Yeah, and those poetry ones seem like they're making a huge impact. So
Yeah.
having a page dedicated to that, I think is going to be awesome.
Ah, that's
I think it's going to
confirmation.
be
Yeah, I was
awesome.
thinking about that because I'm like, I'm literally planning on posting all the artists that are gonna be at this event, and my
Yeah.
brain doesn't want to because I'm like, now it's gonna distract all the other things I have, which are my model posts. And I'm like, oh, maybe I need a page. And I'm like, here I go needing another page. But yeah.
like as if we're doing too much, but the reality is it's all parts of us that we were already going to do regardless. So why not create a page for it? You know what I
That
mean?
limitation, I don't know where it comes from. I really
It comes from
don't.
others. It
Yeah,
comes
that's
from
what I was
others.
thinking.
It comes from others because for me, what it was I was trying to organize. I was trying to basically prove to people how everything fit together. It's not for them to see, you know what I mean? And so
Right.
here they are saying you're doing too much, but this is all of who I am. So if I'm doing too much, then maybe I'm just too much for you. You're not my audience. You know what
Right.
I mean? And I
Yeah.
had to really get that inside of me because the reality is I wasn't doing it because I wanted to keep them in my life. But if I had to minimize who I am to keep them in my life, then they need to be there to begin with, you know? So it's like if you can't see the vision, that's cool. If you can't support me because you can't see the vision, that's cool too. You can
Right.
stay over there and I'm gonna be over here with my 5011 pages because maybe I got
Mhm.
5011.
Exactly. No, that's Ashe. That's so true. And I think, yeah, that recognition and being seen in certain lights is really it for me. I've only had one person, they were like, "You have so many Instagrams." It was a factual observation.
Yes.
And I was expecting them to say it to be saying it in a judgmental way, and it was on text message, so I didn't know. And
Yes.
I was like, okay, basically, and they were like, that's cool, and I was like, oh, okay, one
Yeah.
person thinks this is cool, or at least says it to
Yes.
me. So
Yes,
yeah,
I think it's beautiful because it allows people who are coming to you for different things to know where to find you, right? If someone just wants to know about poetry events, they don't want to like scroll through all your model photos and like you know what I mean?
yeah,
They don't want to do that. If someone's coming to you for your self-care stuff, they don't want to scroll through events and stuff, like you know? So that's what
that's
the
what
way
I'm
I see it
thinking.
is it's like separated to where it speaks to those because
It's
all of
more
those things have
curated.
different audiences. Yeah.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
curation and all. Okay,
Yeah.
I appreciate that. I needed that to hear that because I was literally basically limiting myself by saying
Yeah.
no. And there's a real limit because Instagram does limit how many Instagrams you can have. So that's one thing I need to figure out because I already have like other pages that are like a little bit more
Girl, I
miscellaneous.
have like 7 right now.
Yeah, I think you can only have like 7 or 8.
I have 7.
I was
Because, you
like,
know, what
only
I was kicking and screaming was to make one for my products. Because I'm
yeah,
like, before the Carter Love page for the clothing, it had the Shea Shea Butter stuff on there.
yeah,
But my sister brought up a great point that sometimes the product stuff is going to sell better than the clothes, and the clothes are in the way, but I'm not giving up on my clothes. You know what I mean? So I
yeah,
was like, okay, I'll start a separate Instagram for the oils, you know, because
yeah.
even that content, the audience is going to be slightly different because that content is about to be spicy.
Okay. I hear that. Most definitely. I love it. Oh my gosh. I
Yes.
love the resonance that we have. Like being Scorpios, I'm into like, of course, like astrology. I'm
Yes.
into human design, just all things about different ways of understanding yourself. So
Yes.
I'm wondering like what's your human design? What's this and that? Cause we might
Oh,
have
I
more
have. I
similarities.
screenshotted it because it's fairly new to me, and that's what I was just saying on my live. Is like a lot of the stuff is new to me. I'm more of a psychology girly, and then I
Okay.
connect with my spiritual side, and it so a lot of the stuff that I connect with spiritually is stuff like you know human design and stuff. But I'm not aware of the terms. I'm learning about it because other people are telling me.
Yeah.
So I do know what it is. I just don't know it by heart because it's new to me.
Okay. Well,
I
that's
learned about
totally
it this
fine.
year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool. That's cool. Wait, did I learn about mine this year? It kind of feels like it. It wasn't
Yeah.
that long ago. Either way,
Yeah. What's
um
yours?
I'm a manifesting generator, and
I think
that's
I think
I
I'm the same.
I think so. I'm hearing it in my head, like clear, whatever the one you can hear things. Cause I'm like, I think I'm hearing that, and it just speaks to like us having all these different passions, pretty much, and
Yes.
not limiting ourselves because that's actually a purpose of a manifesting generator is to live in that multi potentiality, or not even just that, because I think that's all people, but more so multi passionate.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And being able to do it and do it well. Because there are people
Hmm.
who are multi passionate, but they don't know how to wrap their brain around it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And so they just stick to one, and that's okay. You know, pick one and stick to it.
Yeah.
But for me, it's like it's in me. Like when it comes to elevating other businesses, if I got an idea for you, baby, I'm saying it. You know what I mean? That's the
Yes.
consulting side of things. When it
Right.
comes to events bring those businesses together for us to elevate. It also showcases different people's talents and stuff, which is
Mhm.
elevation, right? I want to help other people
Yes.
elevate in their craft. That's it's just a part of who I am. You know what I mean? And
Exactly.
modeling is just something entirely different. It was more than I ever could have imagined. I
Yeah.
wasn't expecting it to be so healing for me. I
Mm.
really wasn't expecting that, but it has been so healing and so in alignment with my body positivity, my,
Yes.
self-love and stuff. And so it's been so powerful for me. And then I learned how to use it to help other brands elevate. So I'm like, look at it. It's all the way around.
I
Same thing with poetry, you
Yes.
know?
I love that. That's the best thing about to me about being multi-passionate is being able to those things basically being their own entity, but
Yes.
they all connect because of course they come from you, but they
Yes.
can connect and you're basically creating your cycle for pouring into
Yes.
yourself. It's kind of a different way I will want to say it, but you know what I'm trying to say.
No, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I was right there with you. Yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome. Tell me a little bit about your poetry journey. I wasn't aware that you did poetry until I start seeing the poetry nights.
Yeah. Um, I'm really starting to connect back with my voice again and being
Yes.
able to share it because I've been a writer like my whole life. Honestly, like I used to read a lot more and that inspired me to write my own stories. So I used to write my own stories like on paper or
Mhm.
whatever and just make up stuff. And then I use writing as a form of like self therapy because like
Yes.
whatever was going on at home, I needed to write it down. Um, and so I would just literally just write how I'm feeling or whatever, and it kind of was a little poetic as well, and I didn't realize that at first.
Yes.
Um, and then there had been an app called Episode, and then they had stories, and then you can make your own stories. So it just started to make me tap into that form of creativity as far as writing. And then I started to do poetry when this is all when like through the ages of like 7 to 11, 12 years
Yes.
old. And then that was just when I was a kid. So I shared my creativity in that aspect with myself my whole life pretty much.
Mhm.
And I'm trying to think. I feel like I started sharing my poetry with like my friends when I
Mhm.
was growing up a little bit, and especially like when I got into romantic relationships, it came out a lot then. Like I would write them
Mhm.
letters or whatever.
Yes.
And oh yeah, I did used to like write my mom like poems and stuff for her birthday and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So then
Yes.
yeah, so then like it's just um me graduating high school, stepping into my adulthood. I started going to events myself, and so that was one thing that I was called to because I've always just been called to words in general, expression through
Yes.
words. I just love words and writing and psychology,
Mhm.
just understanding interpretations and stuff like that.
Yes.
So
Yes.
yeah, so it's just always been something I was really called to, but the events is really what got me. I started going to poetry events and connecting with other poets. It was this main I think that's the main person. Like my ex best friend, she really was inspiring me to do music.
Mhm.
So I was writing music, but she knew a person named PG, and he is someone who had started to inspire me to actually perform and
Yes.
stuff like that. I'm realizing that right now as I'm talking about it, and so I started performing. I was super nervous and stuff, and this was like
Yes.
20 I want to say 2022. I just
Uh-huh.
started performing like not that long ago. So like 2022-ish, I believe we're going into 2023. So that's when I
Mhm.
started performing, and so it took me a minute. Actually, it's
Yes.
it's really only been technically like 2 years, and 2025 isn't over, so it hasn't been that much time. And it took me actually a short amount of time then to feel like, okay, even though I'm still perfecting my craft or
Yes.
perfecting it, I am like, I want to create my own space. I've been to enough events to see how they go, how they should go, how they shouldn't go, what is comprised of them, basically how to curate it. And so as a creator, I'm like, okay, it's my turn to create a space. And so like,
Yes.
this is where I'm at in 2025. Like I started, yeah, I did my very first event in 2025. So yeah, I'm just, like starting and
Yes.
because that's I think one of the big things for me being not even just a Scorpio, it's some other aspects, but just wanting to have it perfect and perfect the
Yeah.
craft before doing it and actually
Yeah.
trying and like, taking the time to have to grow through it. So yeah, because
Yes.
it's definitely not perfect, but I absolutely love it. Like this is what I want to do, and that's what
Yes.
fulfills me rather than it being like super perfect.
Yes. I
Yeah.
feel that too. Cause for me, I think I've gotten less I've gotten a little bit away from perfectionism, but it's like, we're very visual, and we can see all the details and how we want it to be. And so I feel like sometimes
Mhm.
I'm like, I'm gonna just wait till it gets there. You know what I mean?
Right.
Not realizing that other people don't see the vision, so it's okay for them to get bite-sized pieces of it until you can make that whole vision come alive. But because it's so vivid, I'm like, we gonna wait a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, you kind of want to be able to see like a at least a good percent, like in my head I want to say like 40-50% of the visual that the entire visual we see like tangibly or whatever, being able to see
Yeah.
that it's like cuz I know for me I'm probably not even 20% there. I
Yeah.
might be being dramatic, but I just see my things being super big in the future, so
Exactly.
it's like
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, you have to crawl before you walk. And I'm like, but do we? But do we really? You
Right.
know? And so I'd be
Yeah.
like to Shay, you need to be more graceful and more patient. But I'd be ready to be
Right.
I want the whole vision.
Mhm.
So I understand. And I feel like I'm similarly, like I started writing poetry at a younger age. It was very healing for me, very very
Mhm.
transformational. It honestly, I feel like that and dance and having like my personality is what saved me, honestly, from a lot,
Mhm.
um and then it was also like knowing that it was inspiring, like, people around me, even though for me my poetry in the beginning it was kind of dark.
Right.
And then
Yeah.
it grew as I grew and as I healed, it grew.
Right.
And so it's been quite the journey. Honestly, I haven't performed much myself.
Mhm.
I performed maybe 3 4 times. um
Okay.
I performed for the first time, I think 2023. I
Oh,
think in
okay.
2023. Yeah. I performed once. It was a very intimate open mic night. I loved it. It was a nice safe space. Girl, I performed a 7 to 10 minute poem.
Oh, wow.
But it
That's
was it was awesome
beautiful
though.
for the
It was
first time.
awesome.
Oh my god.
Yes.
That is dope.
So yeah, it was awesome. I got a good reaction from the audience. Ended up having like an hour-long conversation with a girl about it because she related to the poem. So it was very
Wow.
inspirational for me, really inspired me to even write my book, my poetry book. And I do love performing my poetry, but I love performing it behind the camera, like just audio, because
Yeah.
I feel like I can get more into like those parts of me, you know what I mean?
Okay.
Um,
Most
but I
definitely.
want to be able to do both, you know.
Mhm.
But we'll see. I'm not gonna push it.
Right.
I'm happy to showcase other poets, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
So I'm excited about that.
No, that's actually I hear that though. I really do because I'm I've been only performing. I've only ever like posted one video of me performing my poetry, but I actually want to like start putting it in audios or doing other things that's like online
Yes.
versions or make a book or whatever. But so that's
Yes.
interesting when it comes to our journeys and similarities. It's like you are on this end and I'm on this end, and we kind of like want to go on the opposite end.
Yes.
That's pretty cool too. Like,
It
cause
is
that's true.
cool.
You do have a book.
Yes.
That's what inspires me. Cause I'm like, wait, it's like I don't have to be like I said at the end or super perfect at poetry or feel like I have grade A poetry, whatever that's supposed to mean to make a book. Like
Yeah.
I have poetry. I have actually like
Tons of
way
poetry.
more. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. That and I didn't
Yeah.
realize that either until I started to organize it
Yeah.
and stuff like that. I'm like, wait, I have at least like I can definitely make a book.
Yeah, and you can even like label it like the journey to blue or the journey to whatever you call your poetic name, because the reality is the poems, they're going to grow as they read, they're going to grow with you. They're going to see how you
Right.
develop into who you are today, that transformation. And that's what I just try to remember when I do post things or when I do things like you're human. People need to see the growth and the progress. You know what I mean? And so I just trying to kind of like just chill to say. So that's what my poetry books are about.
Yeah.
Like they're literally a collection of like the first book was a collection of poems from my year 30, my rebirth 30.
Hmm.
So just different things. It's not a certain theme. It's just different things I went through during my rebirth 30 and how I came out on the other end. Same thing with this book. I'm so excited. I'm actually already almost done. I
Yes.
checked. I have 26 poems, and so it's supposed to be about 32 poems because I'm turning
Okay.
32.
Okay.
So yes, so I'm already almost done. I was like, damn girl, you've been writing this year.
That's so cool. Oh my
And it's
gosh.
honestly, it's not as hard as we make it out to be. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? So even the podcast, it wasn't that hard to develop. Even recording it wasn't that hard to develop. So that's something we can talk a little bit more about off camera.
Okay.
But it's definitely doable. Like it's definitely something
Yeah.
you can do this year.
I
I'm just
know, and
like I'm
that's
just putting it out there.
no for okay, spirit. I can't ignore it now. She just brought it up. Yes, yes. No, I need it and I appreciate this. I love this so much. This conversation is already
Yes, me
everything. So
too.
yes. Yes. I
Yes.
wanted to know how I did want to know how your event was. You did one event like that was from your collective or for your collective, right?
Yes, just
That's what I was.
recently.
Yes.
Yes. So, you know what I love? I love when you have events, even if it's not a huge turnout, the people who show up
Yeah.
are so supportive and loving. I had a
Yes.
friend come from the Bay. She came from San Jose to Sacramento
Wow.
to show up. I had a friend who lived in Sacramento. She showed up. And then I met this woman on LinkedIn. She has a business in Sacramento. And she wanted to meet up with me and talk a little bit about how we can work together. And it was a great fit. Like I literally just left from Sacramento this last weekend from a meeting with her to see how we're going to progress together. And so I'm excited to make some announcements about that soon, about
Ooh.
more events that are going to be on the
Yeah.
way in Sacramento. So I'm definitely going to be connecting with you about that more too. Um, because it's going to be, me, it's going to be poetry, it's going to be live music, it's going to be workshops about self-care and self-love and stuff
Okay.
like that. So
Amazing.
there's just so much. I declared this was going to be the year of being unleashed and elevated, and baby, that's what it is. So
Okay. I love
it
that.
was successful because I got to one see that I have support. You know what I mean? These are a
Mhm.
lot of people that I met online or that I reconnected with from like, middle school, but
Mm.
it's like still having that support is deep because we support ourselves and we love ourselves, but it's also nice to have that cherry on the top. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, exactly. And that's really just the reflection of yourself. So it's just further proof. Like when you do step into your fullest self and exude delight, it's like it's gonna reciprocate itself
Yes.
basically. I like that. That's so
Yes.
cool. Oh my gosh, I'm happy to hear that because I seen it and I'm like, I know I'm not gonna be able to travel there, but I just know it's gonna be great, and that's why I wanted to
Yeah.
come.
Oh, I love it. I'm so glad. I'm happy about that. But
Yeah.
hopefully some of the other ones, because there's gonna be a lot. And so but yeah, there's definitely ways that, like, we've been supporting each other. There's definitely ways that there's gonna be room for us to elevate with one another and
Yeah.
help each other and all the things. So I'm excited. I'm
The
so
seed is
excited.
planted now in this live anyway. So
Yes. Yes, exactly. So how did you get into holistic wealth? How did you dive into
Mm.
that?
Oh, that's something I actually have been talking to myself about. I think I was preparing for podcasts or future interviews
Mhm.
with myself because I was like, wait a minute, where did this come from? But it was also, I think, after I was like around, wait, I was still in high school actually.
Mhm.
Because it really started with yoga for me. Yoga is really one of my favorite things in the world. I'm being dramatic, but it really is though. It really is. I
Yes.
say often that if I can do yoga like for a living, I guess just every second or like as much as I want to, I would. Cause
Yes.
it's just that's something that's so healing to me. I don't know.
Mhm.
My connection to yoga. I'm also feeling the connection as I'm talking about it. It's funny. But yoga. So I started with yoga when I was in high school. Um, I was a little bit of an athlete, so I don't know. I can't remember exactly what connected me to it or draw me to it. That's why I'm like, I was working out and stuff, so maybe I gravitated towards the yoga and the stretching. Like it was really called stretching to me at the time. I don't even think I really knew
Yeah.
the yoga.
Yeah, they used to
But
call it
that's what
stretching
it
all the
is.
time, and then now they
That's
say,
what
"We're
it
gonna do a
is.
little bit of yoga."
Yeah, that's what it is. Cause I was in school and I wasn't doing track. And so we did stretches and warm ups. So that's when I learned about I mean, we always did like stretches and warm ups in school and PE and stuff. But
Mhm.
it was me being an athlete that I took that, I think, and started doing that at home because I like
Mhm.
just being fit.
Yes, yes.
So yeah, I started doing yoga at home. I used to literally make content more. So that was like me starting my holistic wellness content. And then as I started my brand, which was a little bit out of high school, so like the year I graduated, it was when my mom was like, "Oh, you should start selling products." And I was like, "Oh, yeah,
Mhm.
I didn't know I can do that." And then so once I graduated, like I had more my time back, so I started to focus on that. So now
Mhm.
I'm learning how about herbalism, how to make products, and so that's also when I started to get into tea and herbs and stuff. So then I was combining the yoga and the tea, but it was really like around the time I was in high school, coming into like my more adulthood and stuff like
Mhm.
that. And basically it being healing for me. Like I
Yes.
really just like love my rituals, doing yoga every morning. It was mostly every morning, and now
Mhm.
it's becoming later or just whenever I can do it. But I feel
Yes.
like I can do it later in the day now. I still think for me the ritual is when I get up because it just, warming your body up.
Yeah, I'm the same
So
way. Yeah.
yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's a universal thing. It just makes sense anyway.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so yeah, yoga and tea, like maybe that should be a thing now.
It
Because I really like
should.
to compare those things. Actually, I love pairing them together. So that's really what it was for me. It being healing for me. And then now it's like, okay, this is a part of my brand. Literally, my ritual is me healing. And so I want to share this with people.
Mhm.
So yeah, like it really just started with yoga. I feel like yoga is like my favorite thing. And then herbs. And now I'm diving into different things, which is spirituality,
Mhm.
astrology, and everything, like everything under the sun. Yeah.
Yes. That's beautiful because it's beautiful to be open like that. I was just talking to my cousin about how when you grow up religious, you're afraid to explore those different things. Um and, as kids, we just kind of follow whatever our parents do. But then when we grow up, we start to develop our own mindsets and stuff. And
Yeah.
so I just think it's beautiful to be open to learning something new, whether it's for you or not. You know what I mean? But just being open to the thought that it might enhance your life in some way, shape, or form, you
Yes.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Like I'm
awesome.
super I feel like I'm super open to anything spiritual, and I didn't grow up like religious or anything. Like I had no structure in that way. So it was
Yes.
just like very open in whatever I was drawn to, which was definitely like
Yes.
bodily things, which was mainly dancing, and then it went from that and being like athletic and working out, and yoga was really. I'm like I stayed there, and now
Yes.
I do want to do like Pilates and I forget the ones with like the ropes or the sheets or whatever they're called, but there's
Oh, the
different.
aerial. Oh my god.
Yeah,
I love
yeah.
it.
I
I
just seen
want to
someone
do
do
the
that.
I did it a little bit here in Vallejo. But I don't think they'll have that facility anymore. I think I have to go deeper into the bay for it. But I
Mm,
loved it. You're gonna love it. It's awesome. And then
yes.
I want to do the hoops too. The
Oh
aerial hoop.
yeah. Ooh. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That was confirmation because I just seen someone posting content yesterday and it was so pretty, but I've seen it before and not too much. So I'm just knowing like I'm getting to a point to for more so financially to where I can invest in those things. Other
Yes.
than that, I think that's the only reason why I haven't done it yet. Cause
Yeah,
yeah, I want to
yeah.
get into all of the
Girl, cuz
things.
that's why I stopped cuz it was so expensive.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
loved it. I loved it. Felt so good to my body because I am a dancer. I've always loved dancing. Dancing has been very healing for me.
Mhm.
But I feel like because of my connection to church, I kind of let them steal that from me a little bit because I used to praise dance.
Mhm.
Um and I was kind of criticized. I was criticized for going to school dances, and then I was criticized for praise
Mhm.
dancing in a certain way because my hips would move and it seemed very seductive, but my hips just moved that way. And so I was
Right.
always very like, am I doing this dance right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, and I'm like,
Yeah.
Deshay, you're at home. You can do whatever you want. And so I would do whatever I want. But when it came to sharing that gift with others, I always felt like I was gonna be criticized. So I held on to
Right.
that.
Yeah.
Um and so I've just been letting it, heal me again. I got back into it recent, just very, very recent, like last few weeks recent, as far as
Okay.
sharing it with other people.
Mhm.
And so it's a powerful thing. Moving your body, finding
Yeah.
what works for you when it comes to moving your body is so
Mhm.
powerful.
It
Yeah.
is. I really do feel like I can't like fully just say um dancing is like the best form of art, but I feel that and when I say this because more so of like it's your body expressing and I feel like that's like one of the highest forms of connection to source. I mean like
Yes.
poetry and music definitely is like you're connected to source and literally channeling, but like I don't know, the dancing is just a different form of expression that I feel like is like a little bit more powerful than and I don't
Yeah.
I'm actually not trying to be biased. I actually feel like that's like a truth in such a way.
No, I feel like it too because for me, I get downloads when I dance. Like it's
Mhm.
like this ultimate release when I give into the music. I also That's the other thing is because I'm empathic, I can really feel what the artists are saying and stuff and I let that flow through my body. I don't hold it like
Yeah.
it's my own emotion. I let it flow through my body. I
Yeah.
connect with that feeling and then I release it so I'm also able to release my feelings and then I start getting downloads. And so I literally keep a little notebook so I
Well,
can like jot down whatever I'm hearing.
yeah.
Sometimes I'll pause
That's
and I'll do
dope.
an audio journal, and then I'll go back to dancing because it be feeling it's just so
That's dope.
wonderful, you
That's
know.
dope.
It's
Yeah.
wonderful, and I think a lot of people miss out on that.
I know. It definitely yeah, exactly how I like how you explained it because it's something you don't think about and I feel like it's easier to think like in other forms of expression like painting or talking like technically you can stop and think a little bit obviously when you're singing in the moment you're not necessarily thinking but it's
Yeah.
it's just different than like moving so
Yes.
yeah I definitely hear that that's what I'm saying like it's so dope and I do actually it definitely is a practice of like learning how to fully like let spirit take over with my
Yes.
dancing because that's something I'm literally like practicing is going 100% because I really want to like not necessarily perform, but I definitely want to showcase my art in front of
Yes.
other people. And
Yes.
so it's a matter of me being able to not think about what, basically perceiving other people's
Yes.
reactions, but
Mm-hmm.
to just flow and that because I know it just comes down to how I'm being perceived and me
Yes.
wondering how I'm being perceived.
Yes. Exactly. And that's what I feel like it's sad because it affects all art forms, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Because people always want to put you on the scale, is she good, is she bad, is she as good as this person, you know what I mean? And so it's just like I'm slowly like really letting that go. Like when it comes to poetry, I feel like I'm very confident in my poetry. Um because I know it's different from everyone else's, but I also know that it's very relatable. But
Mhm.
dance is different. Like dancing and singing, like those are different because they want you. They're gonna compare you. You're gonna get compared to Sierra. You're gonna get compared to like, you know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
you're gonna get compared to all these other individuals, and you have to be like, I've just learned to try to be comfortable with that. Like those are some of my affirmations is I have the courage to be misunderstood. You might not understand the way I move my body. You might not understand my dance moves.
Mm,
That's okay. It's not
I
for
love
you to
that.
understand. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? My other one is I have the courage to be talked about because they're gonna talk. Whether it's a
Right.
good performance, even if it touched them, they're gonna talk about it because maybe they're
Yeah.
not ready to feel what they felt when you danced or when you
Right.
did your poetry. So I've just had to keep feeding myself those affirmations because baby, it's hard, especially in this society, what we've been taught,
Yeah.
be like this, be like that, be like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it just hinders our art sometimes and our healing because
Yeah.
there's healing in that art.
Yeah. I feel like the download I'm getting from that is kind of just like really detaching yourself from anybody else besides yourself, basically, because it
Yeah.
just doesn't matter. It just doesn't
Yes.
matter.
Yes.
I
It
have to
doesn't
stop
matter.
there
Yeah.
because it doesn't. It literally I need
Yeah.
to start telling myself that.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. And then the reality is someone's going to be impacted. And for
Yeah.
me, that's enough. Even if it's just me,
Like,
because baby, I need that healing. Okay.
yeah, exactly.
But like, that's one of the other things that I'm learning right now is that just as much people are talking about you, there are a lot of people supporting you. They just don't know how powerful their voice is. So they don't know how powerful it means for them to say, you touched me. When you read that poem, that meant something to me. When you did that
Yeah,
dance, that meant something to me. They don't
that's
think
true.
their voice is powerful enough. Like they just be like, she knows. You know what I mean? Baby, I do know, but I need that cherry on the top.
Yeah, exactly. Like exactly. Just as much as I deserve to express, so do you. So it's like, and that light is really what I feel like is another thing. It's just expressing your truth because my truth was expressed through me dancing and yours was
Yes.
by expressing that you were, impacted by that. So that's
Yes,
pretty cool.
exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
So, what does shadow work look like for you?
Ooh, that's a good one. I really that's oh yeah, that's another like holistic just thing for me that I hadn't even realized that's like one of something I practice just naturally almost every
Yeah,
day.
yeah.
It's like if I had pillars of holistic wellness, that would be the top pillar or something like that. Or one of them
Mm-hmm.
at least. Because it's like basically doing the inner work and figuring out what parts of you are in pain or what needs to heal and to really take the time to understand yourself and your emotions and your thoughts and so basically going into the subconscious and I feel like as a Scorpio it's like that's all I do.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
really all I do is like I'm transmuting energy all the time. So that's why like me writing, that was the start of it for me. And so I'm basically writing everything out. And then when I read back over it, I'm like, oh, this is what I'm trying to say, or this is how I feel. Because of
Yes,
course, like you have the emotion and you probably just feel it in your body and then
yes.
it has a general word like I'm sad, but then you're like, what does that really mean? So that now
Yeah.
I write it down and I'm like, okay, I'm sad. Like I can understand really what it means basically. And so since I've been doing that for a long time, like really going in the subconscious, now I'm having a better connection with myself and understanding my
Yes.
own emotions. I feel like at the end of the day, shadow work is really just taking the time to understand yourself and like what is going on and on an internal level and really validating yourself too or
Yes.
not necessarily invalidating yourself but if it's something that doesn't necessarily doesn't necessarily belong, or you want to change that, replace it with something positive, then
Yes.
it is doing that work to transmute those energies and alchemize them into the positivity you want to replace it with. So it's just like
Yes.
it's a very constant thing. I feel like it's like literally like I said, I feel like I do shadow work every day. I'm like, okay,
Yes.
check
Yes.
in, what's going, and it's not actually that intentional. It's really natural for me, and I want to
Yes.
make it more intentional, to be honest, because it's like I want to know when it is that I'm actually picking up on my own inner feelings and
Mhm.
basically analyzing it. So yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. That's why I want to do
Yes.
my bad, I didn't even mean to cut you off,
No,
but
go ahead. You're good.
that's why I want to do more, like I'm called to do more work with others for that, because
Mhm.
it's more of a natural thing with myself, and it can become intentional, but I almost don't feel like I need to because I've been doing
Yes.
it for so long. But that's where the work and the service comes in, because to do that with another person and actually talk with someone outside of myself and be able to do that work is ultimately going to be good practice for me, and
Yes.
doing it with myself as well. So yeah.
Yes, I feel that 100% because when all this stuff talk about shadow work came out, I'm like, I've been doing that. And I felt like I was being cocky. And I'm like, they keep talking about this shadow journal and I'm like if I would have known it was that deep, I would have came out with a journal.
Right. Literally that.
I was like, I could have did that and not like in a braggy way, but I'm like, I've been doing that. I didn't
That's
know it
the
was
truth
like such
though.
a
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm glad you said that, because that's true. I guess that's probably why I'm kind of disconnected to the new sense of it. Like
Mhm.
it being said, and I don't know when they started bringing that up, like a couple of years ago.
Yeah. It was like a little bit like after COVID, I think they started
Yeah,
bringing that up.
that's
Yeah.
interesting. But yeah.
Yes. That you said something too that I learned when I was writing my book. You said that you reread what you write, and there's so much power in that because for me, when used to write, just writing was a release. That was
Mhm,
enough release for me. But
mhm.
I didn't realize there how much power there was in rereading what I actually felt to better understand myself. And
Yeah.
honestly, that didn't click for me until I had to reread my poems. And girl, I'm rereading and I'm crying. And I'm like, girl, you really be going through some stuff, but you really be coming
Yeah.
out on top.
Yeah. Period. Literally that transmutation right there. That's so dope.
I
I
was like, wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, for real. Like I that the word for it is like introspection, and I'm kind of obsessed with introspection and like literally analyzing myself. And it's just like, okay, it's so fun to really read over what you wrote, especially if it's like like say it was 5 years ago and you're reading, and it's like
Yes.
it's another thing, just being able, that's that self-love and being growing the connection with yourself, because you're
Yes.
acknowledging yourself. It's like I did, like you said, I went through this, like,
Yes.
but where am I at now? And so I love that too, because you can reflect on how
Mhm.
you've grown.
Yes, yes. I
Mhm.
love it so much. And then so for me, like you said, the way shadow work is looked at differently. It's looked at differently than I feel like me and you view it. So I want to know, how do you see your shadow self?
Mm. I That's a good question. I feel like me and my shadows are literally like twins. Like I don't feel so separated from my shadow, because like I'm always checking in with my shadow
Yes.
a lot. And so there's definitely darker parts of my shadows that I'm still working with to
Yes.
integrate into my light body self, but like ultimately it's not something that I'm scared of, basically.
Yes,
I
exactly.
Yeah, like I can look, there's, like I said, I'm not perfect though. I'm still working on things. I know there's parts of my shadows that are darker and deeper than I expected, so I'm not forcing myself to jump right into the things, but I know that's
Yes.
there. I'm always
Yes.
acknowledging that I have my shadows basically. And so like I know we are twins, but also I because I'm so familiar with my shadows, then I still want to make sure I can differentiate because
Yes.
I am very much okay with them and don't mind listening to them sometimes, to be so
Yes.
honest or whatever.
Exactly. Exactly. No, and that's why I brought it up, because there's this thing where we reject our shadow selves, and then that's what makes our shadow selves so much more intense. So then when they do show out, it seems like you acting out, and the reality is they just want to be seen. They're a
Yes,
part of who you are. And
exactly.
so I that was like the game changer for my healing. My therapist sent me something, I can't even remember what it was, but
Mhm,
it said healing isn't about rejecting your unhealed self. Self love is about loving the healed and unhealed parts of you. And
mhm.
that kick started everything for me, because
Yeah.
I was really rejecting that side of me. And I feel like
Mhm,
that was my shadow self, but also I connected with it more so too when it comes to, I used to shrink myself a lot. So the
mhm,
things that people collectively didn't like about me, I would hide those parts of me away. And I feel like those became a part of my shadow self because I just suppressed them and they
mhm.
weren't able to be seen. And so it was about also connecting with that. Like, the reason why I don't like my shadow self is because they don't like my shadow self. Fuck them. Like, you know
Right.
what I mean? Like who
Yeah.
are they to be running how I
Yeah.
feel about myself, you know?
Yeah.
So I started, like you said, getting to know those parts of me, embracing them, knowing when to let them pop out and when to let them sit down, and like just connect with them to let them know I accept you, I love you. There's a
Yeah.
time and a place though, baby.
Yeah. Yeah, most definitely. That is exactly what it is like having a balance, but ultimately integration, like not
Yes.
necessarily making them so separate because it's you. It's just
Yes.
a different version of you. So
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
What is
Yeah.
one way you would tell someone to start, like slowly start connecting with their shadow self?
Journaling. Just
Yes.
start journaling. It doesn't have to be a diary. It doesn't have to be writing poetry, but like that's what I started doing when I was a kid. Didn't realize it. I'm just writing, and it was never. Well, technically, it was a there was a prompt there. Like I was so mad or whatever at the time, and I was like, I need to release this. But it can be like, this is the end of my day. Okay, now let me just write how my day was, and then just let it flow. Basically, is what I'm saying,
Yes.
because you don't
Yes.
want to overly prompt it. Because well, you can, but I feel like to start off is just like
Yes.
just start writing. Let yourself
Yes.
write. Like literally, don't think about it too hard, and just
Yes.
get that practice because that's what it is. And then especially if you're trying to learn specific things about yourself, that's where prompts really come in handy.
Yes.
I think
Yes.
just to start off, it's like journal for every day for a week, couple weeks, a whole month, and like read back on that and see what you can get from it, what introspection, what downloads you get. Yeah,
Yes.
that would be cool.
Yes. Yes, I love that. I agree 100%. And the last guest that came on, he talked about how he has three different journals,
Hmm.
and they help him because one of them he uses to write to his grandparents who are no longer living. The other one is like just about his day. And then I
Wow.
can't remember what the third one was for, but it's like all these different journals in some way, shape, or form, they connect you with that inner self, that shadow self, especially
Hmm.
the one to his grandparents, because he talks about the different things going on in his life and stuff like that. And these are people who know you. They knew
Right.
you before you knew you. You know what I
Right.
mean? So I was like, that is so powerful. That is
It
so
really is.
powerful.
I've never heard
Yeah.
about that. Never heard anybody do that. So that was
Yeah.
hitting me like that's really cool. 'Cause-
Yeah.
yeah.
That's how I was feeling. I was like, what? And for me, one of the things that was powerful for me that my therapist actually had me doing, because girl, I was writing, but at one point in my healing, because I thought something was wrong with me,
Hmm.
I was spiraling when I was writing. And so she said, no writing. I said, what? hold on now, baby. You know I'm a poet, right? No, I'm just
Right.
kidding. But she was like, no writing. She said, if you're gonna journal, it needs to be an audio journal or a video journal. Girl, I've been hooked ever since. I don't do video journals because I'm still not comfortable seeing myself cry. I'm okay with crying and the release of crying. I'm okay with crying in front of people. I'm still not okay with like just literally sitting there
Mhm.
watching myself cry.
No, I hear that.
But audio journaling has been so transformational for me,
Mhm.
especially when it comes to, if I need advice, because the reality is we know what we need. We just don't always
Right.
want to hear it. And so we'll go to other people and sometimes
Yeah.
they interrupt in and they giving advice and you don't even need the advice that they
Yeah.
given. And so I just get on and I talk like I would be talking to someone that I used to in the past, like, like a girlfriend or whatever.
Mhm.
And I'm just going in. And before I know it, I have an answer because intuition starts to speak and
Right.
intervene. And if I need affirmations, those affirmations come too. And so they become so powerful that I can title them and I know I can go back and listen to
Okay.
that. You know what I
That's
mean?
so cool.
So audio
Mm.
journaling has started to be so I still journal physically, but also I got two little ones. So audio journaling has been so helpful.
Yeah, okay, okay. That's what I'm thinking. Like it's more convenient. It's like we don't think that writing you can get as much out, but more will come out than you expect.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
speaking in real time, you definitely will probably get even more out.
Yeah, it's
I'm
it's
guessing.
yeah, it's hard because there's something about that pen to paper that's also releasing, but it's something also about hearing you say stuff out loud about what you're going through that clicks for you. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And again, once you get it out and it's not the other people aren't. Because when you
Yeah.
talk to friends, they be like, and you be like, girl, can I finish talking? And then they be like, well, I would do this. So couldn't be me. And you be like, can I just be vulnerable right now? You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
like
But
just listen.
yes. And so in those moments, you're able to listen to yourself, like you're able to talk and your intuition will speak to you. So that's your
Exactly.
that'll be your friend, right? Because the
Yeah.
reality is she knows you. She knows your history, she knows your past, your present, where you want to go. She knows everything about you. And the reality is we be having the answers. We do.
We
Sometimes
do
we just want
too.
permission. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, that's a good point. And I was like, hold on, wait, let me turn up my brightness because I can't. uh, I might need to turn on light. That's actually a little better though. I could probably just turn to the light. That's what we're gonna do. There we
Oh
go.
yeah, that's good.
Oh, I forgot. Okay. Oh, so that's I was just on the phone like a little bit earlier, and I was on the phone with my friend, but like we're on FaceTime, and she's doing her thing, I'm doing my thing, and basically I was talking to myself, and so this is something I'm learning that's actually like a spiritual thing
Yes.
rather than just it being a normal thing, but it's a little bit more spiritual than I thought. And
Mhm.
I've been ridiculed for talking to myself like a lot. But
Yeah.
I'm realizing like I'm talking to myself, but I'm like literally consulting with myself when I'm talking to
Yes.
most of the time when I'm talking to myself, I'm trying to figure something out or I'm literally consulting with myself like does this make sense
Yes.
or whatever. And so it's literally like me talking to my highest self in real
Yes.
time. And so I'm like I'm basically that permission aspect is also getting me because it's like I'm learning how to go back to just talk to myself like,
Yes.
we want to we do want to hear other people sometimes and it's fun or rewarding to connect with another person on whatever you're going through and hear them agree, disagree, or just have something to
Yes.
say and acknowledge you. But ultimately, like I really enjoy talking to myself,
Yes.
writing, talking. Like I'm like realizing that, and so I'm coming back to that because I really do talk to myself a lot, and it's kind of I just have to get used to
Yes.
talking to myself around other people because that's really when things come up of like people's judging me or whatever. But
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah, I really like.
Exactly. And that's what I like. I used to when I first came out with my podcast
Mhm.
last year. Um I was like, haven't done it yet, but I said I'm gonna make a shirt that says it's okay to talk to myself, talk to yourself. I do,
Mhm.
because that's something that people get, that's even something that people say, it's okay to talk to yourself. It's when you talk back, that's a problem. But it's not a problem, because the reality is I know me. I know my
Exactly.
history. I know what I want. I know where I'm going. I'm the best person to consult with, you know? And I
Mhm.
just adopted this new mindset that my mind, body, and soul, they sit at this table and they counsel. Like,
Okay, I
because I'm
love
trying
that.
to get them in alignment. My
Mhm.
mind she's been running things most of the time, but now I'm getting in touch with my intuition and my body. And so they all need to come together to make decisions. And
Yes.
so have this visual of them like sitting at a table in my mind, and they have to all agree before a decision is made, okay?
Yes.
And so it's fairly new. My mind, she's still used to running things, but I'm at a survival mode, so I don't need her to run things by herself anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I think it's a beautiful thing that people may or may not get used to, but the reality is we have so much power because we do that. You know what I mean?
Right?
And there are a lot of people who won't have that power because they're so busy talking to other people who are steering them in the wrong direction. You know what I mean? They're so busy
Mhm.
living their life for other people. And we are getting out of that. And it's a
Yeah.
beautiful thing. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And it's things that people are going to try to dim us for because they want to know how to do it. And the reality is, we would teach them if they just asked.
Right. That is so true. Yes. 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 Yeah, and it's just like we have to learn from ourselves in order to do things and then, be able to teach other people, but we have to get to that point first, and that's when we go through the trials and errors of going through our own journey to
Yes.
to do something.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Yes. And then I guess for those watching who aren't comfortable with talking to themselves vocally, journaling is another way. You can just write a
Yeah.
letter to yourself and you're still going to get the answers. Your intuition is still going to stand up and say, baby, this is what we're doing. You know what I
Right.
mean? So it's just a powerful thing. There's just so much power in journaling, no matter how you do it, whether you are doing an audio or a writing or a video. And again,
Mhm.
like you said, with prompts or without prompts, I for me, it's something about me that I can't get down with prompts. Like, I feel like I have to write exactly what they're asking me and I can't steer away from that. And so
Mm.
I usually don't use prompts. I usually just free write. But prompts are so powerful for some people. Actually, there's this book that I used on my healing journey. Used, and it
Wow.
has prompts. Now
Mhm.
that was powerful.
Yeah.
And I would write in there, and then if something stood out to me, I would take it to my therapy session with my therapist, and we would talk about it. That
Mhm.
was a
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, that's what I was kind of getting at too when I was talking about like just journaling for your day when you were asking me about what to do as far as shadow work and stuff. But like that's why I said that's where more intentional specific prompts would come in as
yes,
far as being intentional about diving deep, because that's what I usually use prompts for. Like I'm like, I kind of don't even know how to get this out. How do I get to that
yes,
point? So I need a question to ask myself. So that's, yeah,
yes,
I definitely
yes.
agree with that actually. Yeah.
Yes, and I just recently dived a little bit into that. Cause listen, y'all, I use ChatGPT because I get
Me
one
too.
therapy session a week,
Uh-huh.
okay, for 45 minutes. So I've been using ChatGPT for certain things. And so I'll say, well, can you give me a journal prompt for this?
Mhm.
And what I started doing, I had every intention on writing, because I'm telling you, I have not written. I write my poetry, but I haven't written in a journal in a
Mhm.
while. And that was my go to in the beginning. But when I tell you, I sat there and I read those questions and I did an audio journal. But it
I
was
love it
powerful
so.
because there was so much that I learned,
Yeah.
from saying it out loud, and so much that was spoken to me by my intuition. It was
Mhm.
very powerful for me. That's kind of my new way of utilizing journal prompts.
I love
So
that
it
too.
works
That's
all the way
cool.
across the board.
That's something I wanna test that out myself because, like I said, I like talking, so I I want to hear it, especially because
Yeah.
when you get to hear it too, you can hear your emotions more.
Yes. Mhm. Mhm. Cuz that's what it is for me. Like I mean, I cry when I do both journals, but sometimes hearing things like I was hearing the way I was placing people in my life and why I was placing them that way, and it
Hmm.
was just powerful because my unconscious mind was. I didn't know all this stuff. My conscious mind was
Right.
unaware. My unconscious mind was like, "We're gonna do this to make sure she's protected."
Yeah.
And so when I was aware of it, I'm like, "Oh, we don't gotta do that no more, baby. We don't gotta do
Right.
that."
I hear that. Yes.
So we talked about like our voice, right? So
Hmm.
we're talking about our voice. We talked about our voice when we talked about poetry. And I
Hmm.
find that every time I think I've balanced out my throat chakra or I got my throat chakra together, I find that I just scratched the surface, okay? So I
Really
want to
is.
know, what do you do when it comes to balancing the chakras, and how does that work for you?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, I definitely like to tap into what I'm called to pay attention to, basically
Okay.
listen to my body. Like, for example, um, I've definitely been more called right now to tap into my solar plexus and my heart, which is expressed through my throat chakra.
Yes.
So of course they all connect and it goes up this way. So at the end of the day, I
Yes.
do like to go from the root up when it
Mhm.
comes to chakra work in general. But like there's sometimes there's just I just pay attention and listen to what chakras need to be listened to. At least at this
Mhm.
point in my journey now, because it's like, yeah, I've come so far. I feel like
Yes.
I'm kind of always tapped in to the subconscious, and so I'm like, okay, I can tell that my root chakra is a little imbalanced today, whatever.
Mhm.
And so I often will try to make sure I listen to that and give myself whatever I need in those moments to balance that out. So, like for example, if it is my solar plexus, and what did I say? My solar plexus and my heart chakra, and
Yes. Mhm.
that is me working on my worth, which is and my confidence, which is why it is expressed through my throat chakra, because a lot of that has to do with me expressing how I feel and
Yes.
speaking and sharing information and just tapping into what my purpose is, which is a lot of talking, expression, communication.
Yes. Yes.
So
Mhm.
yeah, so then that goes into, okay, well, there's so many different things I can do. Okay, yoga. I love yoga. So that's one thing I'm always going to do is try to do yoga based on the chakras. And I don't memorize any by heart. So I'm called to do certain things,
Yes.
things I naturally gravitate towards when it comes to
Yes.
yoga. And so now I'm learning how to are wanting to see what I'm called to and what chakras those would align with, because it's like, okay,
Yes.
naturally I want to do the cat cow pose or whatever. Okay, what chakra does that align with? And
Mhm.
it's like, okay, I would say I don't even know, it might be the root chakra or something. So maybe
Mhm.
maybe I'm subconsciously needing to heal my root chakra or whatever, but then I
Mhm.
also will be intentional and look up things for whatever chakra. And then, of course, I got to add the tea in there. So I'm always going
Yes.
to look for different not tea blends, but herbs that I can
Yes.
make into a blend. And usually when I'm doing anything, I don't necessarily, and I kind of want to, now that I'm saying that, but I don't necessarily focus on one thing. So
Mhm.
since we're talking about chakras, I'm usually not focused on one thing because even with herbs, they work better together anyway.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that's why I'm saying solar plexus and heart, because my heart is the heart is under is I think hold on. I think the heart comes before the solar plexus. So as far as going upwards in the
Mhm.
expression, it's like, well, my heart is cool, but then it gets blocked off going to the solar plexus. So it's
Yes.
like I'm
Mhm.
working on my upper chakras right now, I think anyway. Um, but yeah, so pretty much, and then ultimately I think a lot of it comes down to the throat chakra because that is like your expression at the end of the day.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I'm figuring out what parts of me are blocked off chakra wise in order to open up my throat chakra more, especially right
Mhm.
now in general over the past couple of months. So,
Yes.
yeah, that's pretty much. And then doing a lot of somatic work. I've
Mhm.
been called to scream. I haven't done it yet because I definitely want to just be intentional. Like I do, probably would just scream right now, or whatever, for example. But I don't
Yes.
want to just scream and then people get disturbed. Disturbed.
Yes,
um,
I feel that. Yeah, I feel that. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, most definitely. But just like listening to, okay, so intentionally, I'm thinking about my throat chakra. So I'll take a couple minutes, seconds to get the downloads of whatever needs to happen. So scream has been something
Mhm.
that's been on my mind. I keep hearing that. Um, and just also like transmuting that energy, like shaking and stuff like that.
Yes. Mhm.
And of course writing, because even if I am not able to say it or I don't want to, it's my inner voice also that needs to be heard.
Mhm.
Uh, so yeah, it's just like really making sure I tap into hearing myself, which is why I have to allow myself to talk to myself again too, because
Yes.
that really helped. And I had stopped. I didn't realize I even stopped doing that until I started doing it again recently.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
and then this also knowing like different symptoms you have. Like right now, for
Yeah, that's
example,
what I was
my
gonna
throat is
ask
dry.
next.
Yeah, like right now my throat is a little dry. But that's just because I didn't bring any water or whatever. But that could be a symptom that pops up and you might be I did some research, I think. Overexhausting your throat chakra. You
Mhm.
might be people are making you upset. You're always yelling. Okay,
Yeah.
you need to rest. Let it rest a little bit. Or I wouldn't see that being the opposite for your throat being sore. But yeah, there's different symptoms. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense a lot.
Yeah.
And even the worth, what you said about the solar plexus with the worth, because I I know that I'm worthy in certain areas, and that's what I've been learning
Mhm.
is like when it came to relationships, I had to relearn my worth because I was the daddy issues, right? So I'm sitting here and I'm chasing people because I had to chase my dad, right? Or I'm used to unhealthy relationships because I had an unhealthy relationship with my dad, I had an unhealthy relationship with my mom, and so
Mhm.
on and so forth. And so I'm chasing what I'm comfortable with, which
Right.
is unhealthy.
Yeah.
And so at first I was like, girl, like, why do you think like you're worthy, but you're still choosing shit? And so I had to like battle with myself about that
Right.
because I'm like, why do you keep hurting yourself? You're intentionally
Right.
hurting yourself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it was just like a lot of that back and forth stuff. And I think for me with the throat chakra, I've learned one of the shadow parts of me that I've learned to embrace is that I am very direct and very blunt because that's how I prefer people to be with me.
Oh my
Just,
gosh.
just tell me, damn
Affirmation.
it.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
I'm like, just tell me. But because I'm empathic, I'm well aware that some of these people, I can already feel their nerves. I can already feel that they're not ready to receive what I have to say. So then I feel like I can't express
Oh my
myself.
gosh,
And
yes.
so I'm like, well, what am I supposed to do?
Right.
Like,
No, for real.
I'm like, what am I supposed to do? And as I'm
Yes.
saying that, I'm like, Deshay, a vault. I literally have a note in my phone that's locked that says vault for me to write this stuff down for when the person is ready to receive it or just so I can at
Mm,
least express it. But I forgot about it until I
mm.
just said it right now. Cause I'm like, what am I supposed to do? I have to express myself too. But I also
Yes.
have to make sure that I'm not damaging another human being because they're not ready. They may not ever be ready. So
Yeah.
I need to tuck that away,
Ooh.
but I still need to express it.
Yeah.
I gotta get back to I'm gonna write that down. Vault. Get your vault back.
I love that because that is a great idea. And like my throat chakra is super activated now. I'm like, what? Yeah, especially I definitely relate. I think that's another Scorpio thing because
Yeah.
it's just like It's very confirmational for me right now, just because I was literally having a conversation about this, and it's like, specifically like talking about heterosexual relationships and a man and a woman, like a man creates the space. So it's like in general. So it's like if
Yes.
you aren't creating the space for me to be transparent, which was what I was talking about earlier, it's like now I feel like I can't be transparent with you because of
Yeah.
what you said. You're not ready, and
Yes.
that's fine. Maybe I should just leave, but that's okay for you to be yourself. And
Yes.
but now I'm not. I don't think I'm being myself. So it's like
Yes.
that's not fair to you or me because I don't like being fake
Yes. Exactly. Exactly.
or
And
masking.
yes. Yes.
Hmm.
And I feel like too, as an intuitive person, I can see things about a person that they don't want people to see, but I've already seen it because I
Yeah,
already seen it. Like,
yeah,
and so then I feel like I'm keeping their secret, and now I gotta tuck that away. You know what I mean? And so there's just all these things that I feel like that's what made me start the vault because I started getting connected with my intuition and my observations, and I'm like, when people respond to you in a certain way, you're able to pick up on things, or when they
right.
react to certain situations, you're like, oh yeah, they have issues with that person
Information.
because
You
of
getting
this.
all this information?
Yes. And I'm like,
Yeah.
well, what am I supposed to do with this? Because I'm not gonna spread their business, but also I see that they're not ready to talk about it, which is why they like coding it. You know what I mean?
Mm.
And so that's when I started my vault because I'm like, I just know too much.
I Oh my gosh, thank you. Because I literally, this is something that just came up in the past couple of days. So this is very triggering, but in the best way. Because I was just like, what? Why do I feel like I know too much? I don't want to feel like I'm better than anybody because I'm ready
Yes.
and they're not. Because even if I feel like I'm not necessarily ready, um to talk about something, I'd
Yes.
rather get into it. Let's talk about it and figure it out. It's like, but
Yes.
not everybody has that mindset. So it's
Exactly.
very interesting to be the person that we are similarly, like just having that sort of openness. But I think that also is a Scorpio thing because I learned that as far as astrology, I heard Scorpios are it's like if a Scorpio comes in your life or something like that. Or maybe yeah, I think it was specifically just if a Scorpio comes in your life, it's like they're teaching you how to keep secrets. Cause like we don't necessarily in a general sense like to tell everybody our every plan until it is actually started at least or it is there. So,
Hmm.
things like that. And so I guess we naturally have an ability to pick up on secrets and because
Yeah.
of that information. That's so cool.
Yes. I
But it's a
also
lot.
learned about, yes, it is a lot. It's a lot to carry. And I've learned about Scorpios too is that we go through so many transitions. Like there's we're always going to be grieving something because we're always like leveling up, and it helps
Mhm,
with
mhm,
our
mhm,
intuition
mhm.
and with our empathic abilities, and so it just makes us more intuitive and more empathic, so we're able to actually see a person for who they are, and that's a lot of weight as well, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? It just is,
Mhm.
but I love it. It's like,
Too.
honestly, I wouldn't trade it because I don't want to know what it's like to not see a person. Like, I can't unsee, you know what I mean? To see a person for who they are because of the stuff that I've been through, but also because I genuinely just see who they are and
Mhm.
where they can go and their potential. I don't want to unsee that. Like, I wouldn't
Yeah.
want to be any other way,
No.
even though it's
Yeah.
challenging, baby.
It
I wouldn't want to
is.
be any other way.
Yeah, that's how like we wouldn't be have been having been have given this gift if it wasn't meant for us to
Yes.
handle. And I feel like also because it just made me think like because I do like to go deep into things, but that's why I might have a natural ability to stop at a certain point because I'm not ready to see that or I don't need to carry all of that. Like I've seen enough in that
Yes.
because like we probably can go all the way to the deepest depth there is of a person without getting that information from them, but
Yes.
just the ability that we have. And I just thought about that. I'm like, I would probably want to know more, but no, you know what? Actually, let's just, that's enough. I've seen it. It is
Yeah.
still present. But yeah, that's
No,
actually
yes.
cool. That's actually really cool, and learning how to work with that so you don't get overwhelmed and know when to speak and how to speak, because
Mhm.
it's still something that you want to basically express.
Yes. Yes. I think that's one of the things I'm learning is when to stop, because the thing is some of this stuff is also going to protect you, you know what I mean? It's information for you to know, but sometimes it feels
Mhm.
intrusive because they don't realize that you just by looking at them.
Yeah. Yeah, no, actually, I am actually trying to learn how to get better at that, because I'm like, it's the psychology too. It's like, okay, body language, picking up on all these different things.
Yes.
I'm like, I want to
Yes.
be, basically, I was saying all that because I want to be able to tell a red flag just by looking at it. And of course,
Yes.
there's a more apparent things, but I've learned in my experience that there's also very people that know how to hide very well. And I'm like, I need my lie detector to be the best thing in the world.
Yes. Yes. Girl, that's
Yeah.
one thing I can't wait to learn is profiling. I want to learn how to profile my ass off, okay? I
Yeah.
want to know you raise that eyebrow. Yup, that's what that meant.
Yes. 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 Most definitely.
My
Okay.
goodness.
Okay, for sure. Okay.
Oh, shit. There was something else I was about to say about that, but I don't remember what it was. Oh, I wanted to dive into feminine energy before we
Okay.
close out because
Okay.
that's something that I'm just kind of getting into.
Mhm.
I've had to live in masculine energy more than I would like.
Mhm.
And so I'm just curious to know how you dived into that and how you elevate that within yourself.
Mhm. Ooh, that one's so deep, and also I forgot these people are closing soon, but let's see how I really like to get into a state of like relaxation and just like really tap into my inner world. So basically, doing all things slow and sensual, like getting into my ritualistic scent part of me. And that's where like the dancing comes in and the artistry and the creativity and just
Mhm.
really like getting lost in my world of femininity is
Yes.
just like it's just like oh my gosh, it's like really amazing feminine energy. Um and being very receptive is another thing. Um that for me is like where I really get into my spirituality, and I love
Mhm.
the idea of information and learning, um but also it comes with expression, so
Yes.
then being able to get information and those downloads and express it. So like a lot of times when I'm in my world of feminine energy, I'm doing a lot of different things. Like I'm going from dancing, listening to music, now I'm trying to rap and do performance and
Yes.
practice poetry. Now I'm cooking because I love cooking and making me
Yes.
some tea. And so it's just like really being able to just flow and allow yourself to do anything and everything that you desire, that of course you have the capacity to do.
Mhm.
um and it's also a practice of really allowing yourself to just do those things,
Yes.
and giving yourself the space to do it, because there are some things that we want to do in our feminine energy that we don't realize we have to create this space for. Like for me right
Mhm.
now, I haven't been able to dance as much. I'm feeling like,
Yes.
so I need to get to a studio. I need to find where a studio is at and stuff like that. And
Yes.
so yeah, like we have to create the space for our
Yes.
feminine energy. That's what our masculine energy is for, especially as a woman, right? And so it's like just at least being able to also be patient with yourself and give yourself that motherly energy too, and like just also just really creating that aspect of self-love. And I just learned that self-care is not it's not a luxury, it's a necessity. So that too, and really tapping into that ritual on a daily, whatever it looks like. Obviously it doesn't have to be the
Yes.
dry brushing. And then we're talking about, well, I seen a post that said like physical touch, so putting your lotion on and like really even intentionally, I like to now like I love you. I'm rubbing my and it feels kind of weird like,
Yeah.
being
Yeah.
intentional home and listening to her and apologizing to her because I now I'm practicing like, just doing things that might not have been right. Like not listening to myself or physical things, eating junk food, whatever. So yeah, just like really tapping in. Like I'm getting ready to leave out here. But yeah, I'm really just like learning to create the space for my feminine energy, which takes up a lot of space and really being okay with that too and normalizing that because of course that is what the world um takes us away from is being able to create the spaces.
Safe enough, then I can be feminine, but I don't want to put my femininity in someone else's hands. You know what I mean? And so I've just been like, how can I create this space for myself? But I didn't think about like literally just create the space, make room for it. Do these different things to make room for it. So that's it's like it's simple, but it's like at the same time it is a little different because it's not what we're used to, but it's as simple as creating the space.
Hid my feminine energy from not hid it, but I didn't make the space for it. I hid it from like well, I was living with my family, so like my family and stuff like that, and I it was really secretive because I didn't feel safe enough to express my feminine energy. I mean, I still did because it's like, it's only so much of being myself that I can deprive or hide. But of the fullest extent, I still haven't even fully got there yet. So, because I want to be in my feminine energy like every day. I don't really, yeah, I don't feel like there's any reason for me to not be because even if I am in my feminine energy, doesn't mean my masculine energy isn't present and isn't balanced. Um, I promise to practice being my fullest self every day. Yes, yes.
Ching, thank you for being here.
On a moon day. On a moon day. Yes.
Was amazing. I feel awesome. And you guys, as always, remember that you are worthy, 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 worthy always. You are worthy of showing up as your truest self, your most authentic self, your rawest self. That means the light and the dark, baby. That means embracing all of that. You are so worthy of just being who you are. There's so much to who you are that is awesome. You are worthy of living in your feminine. If you are a woman, go and get do that thing, baby. You're worthy of living in the energy that you want to live in without requiring someone else to create that space for you. You're worthy of creating space for yourself. You're worthy of being your safe space. You're worthy of being your safe space. Okay. All right. So we're going to close out ultimately. You are worthy of unconditional self love and unconditional self care. And self care goes beyond natural hygiene stuff. Okay, let's dig
Okay.
deeper, baby.
Let's clock it. You gotta remember that. Like really though.
Yes,
It's spiritual hygiene, mental hygiene, emotional
yes,
everything. It's
yes. All the
holistic.
things. All the things. All
Yeah,
right, you
thank you
guys.
so
Thank you
much.
again. Thank you again.
We're gonna definitely have to talk and connect, definitely. And I hope you have a wonderful night. It's peaceful, blessed.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. All right, my loves. Until next time, you guys. Bye bye.
Have a good night.
You too.